Hi everyone, today we're sewing this fleece jacket. It's the Polar Puff Jacket. It's oversized, features a high collar, Raglan sleeves, a center front zipper, a chest pocket and two side pockets, encased elastics at the wrist, an adjustable waist, and it's not lined. This style is basically a fusion between the Hit the Slope fleece jacket by Free People and this North Face jacket here. So if you like them, you're gonna like this. If you're interested in sewing this style as a sweatshirt, the pattern also is available. I'm going to paste a link to the sewing tutorial in the description. In terms of difficulty, I'm going to classify this pattern in the intermediate level because of the zipped pocket, the center front pocket as well, and the eyelets. For the fabric, you'll need some thick fabric, 350 GSM at least. You don't want a nice drape at all. It's going to be very important to start with this, or else the style is not gonna look good. It's gonna look saggy, your shoulders will be too well defined, and it's gonna look too big instead of oversized, and you're gonna have wasted your time and money. So take your time to pick the right fabric and don't hesitate to postpone sewing until you've found it. I use Polar Fleece, 100% polyester, mine is 340 GSM, and I think it's a really good choice. I'm gonna give a link to this fabric in the description. Cotton fleece is an option too. Blizzard fleece is a good one. And Sherpa is going to be a good choice as well. It's going to be the choice that is the puffiest. Just be careful with Sherpa because sometimes the wrong side does not look nor feel good, and as a result it might require a lining. Also, Sherpa is thick, so it complexifies a little bit the sewing. Plus it requires, I think, an overlocker because as soon as you're going to be cutting the fabric, all those little particles and fibers are going to be flying all over the place. And you want something to finish the edges pretty nicely. For the chest pocket, the button placket, the collar, the pocket bags, you can use any lightweight woven fabric, but because this is an outerwear style, I think the best is to use some 100% synthetic fiber fabric of the outerwear or back type maybe, like ripstop, which is what I used here, nylon or polyamide. Just make sure it is lightweight and not transparent. You could also pick some lightweight gabardine, 100% cotton with some wool in it, or a cotton and synthetic fiber blend, which is going to avoid having to iron the garment after each wash. How much fabric will you need? I'm giving you the fabric yardage and the cutting plans among the files that you'll get for two fabrics width. I'm showing them on the screen right now, but please always refer to the files that you downloaded because I might have updated these files after uploading this video. I'm going to be using my overlocker to finish all the edges throughout this tutorial. If you don't have an overlocker, it's not a problem. If you picked Polar Fleece fabric, you don't need to finish the edges at all because this fabric doesn't fray. Other supplies, interfacing. You'll stick interfacing on the wrong side of the fabric, where the zippers will be sewed and where the eyelets will be punched. You'll need a long zipper, 60 centimeter or 23 inch long, 3 short zippers, 15 centimeters, 6 inches long, flat elastic tape 1.5 to 2 centimeters for the wrists. You could also finish the cuffs with fold over elastic tape as I did in this modified version of the sweatshirt. Cord elastic for the adjustable waist, 2 cord stoppers for the adjustable waist, eyelets, 4 of them for the adjustable waist, and some marking tool like an erasable pen or chalk pen or chalk. What about this pattern for men? Yes, it's gonna work for men. Since it's oversized, there is plenty of room for large shoulders. If you're a guy, pick your size, finding your measurement in the sizing chart. Just before cutting your fabric, you might want to lengthen the bodice as well as the sleeves, and it might be good to enlarge the neck hole as well. So check the measurement. I made a separate video to explain how to pick your size, how to print the pattern, what's an A4, A0, letter format, which software is the most reliable to print PDFs, how to stick the pages together, and so on. So if you are new to PDF patterns, please go have a look. You'll avoid common mistakes and save time and money. Thanks for listening. Let's start sewing.
Let's have a look at the pattern pieces, starting with the raglan sleeves here on the left. I've already marked the darts on the fabric. Then the top front part on which I have marked the pocket placement with a vanishing ink pen. The pocket is right here. I picked ripstop fabric, so it's a fabric that doesn't fray. But if your fabric unravels, which is pretty much every other fabric, you want to stick interfacing on the wrong side of the fabric, reinforcing where the pocket will be sewn. Now we have the bottom front part. I've already stuck interfacing on the wrong side of the fabric and drawn my pocket placement, the front zipper guard cut in fleece and ripstop, the back, the collar cut twice in the fleece and in the woven fabric, the pockets in the fleece and in the woven fabric. We have the pocket zippers. You'll need 15 centimeter long zippers. If they're longer, of course, it's fine. You can just shorten them. I have here the long main zipper, which is 60 centimeter long. It's got to be a detachable zipper, and the one that you can see here isn't detachable. I hadn't realized, it's a mistake. And then I have here some fold over tape. It's optional for the cuffs. I ended up not using it. I decided to hem my cuffs and I used flat tape like this one. You want it to be 1.5 to 2 centimeter wide. You'll need some elastic cord as well, or elastic string, and some cord stoppers, 2 of them. Alright, let's start with the breast pocket. So I take the pattern to transfer the pocket placement. Again, if your fabric is anything other than ripstop, you'll need to stick interfacing at the zipper placement. I poke little holes at the corners of the zipper rectangle. I place the paper on top on the wrong side of the fabric. I mark the fabric. I trace the lines. I draw these lines too. I cut my fabric. I press down. Here I had to set the hot iron on very low as I had already melted some ripstop before. Place the zipper underneath. A little tip here is to add some sewing tape to stick the zipper to the fabric before sewing. It's completely optional. I did it first with pins and it was a mess, so I tried this and it was way better. Be careful not to stitch the tape along with the fabric. It's not a huge deal if you do it, but you're gonna have glue on your needle and it's not gonna help the sewing process. And see, I also traced a line with my white chalk to help me sew this seam here. Right, there we go. Now I'll curve hem the pocket. It's just a verb I invented. I make 2 basting seams, one 1 centimeter from the edge, the other in the seam allowance like 5 millimeter or 7 millimeter from the edge. And I pull the 5 millimeter seam to slightly gather the fabric in the curve. And then I fold all around on the 1 centimeter thread, which is just a guide for the seam allowance. I press down and careful again not to burn your fabric. And I also press the seam allowance at the bottom on 1 centimeter or 3/8 of an inch. I sew the pocket to the front top. I'm using an invisible zipper presser foot here to top stitch neatly. The best to use is a compensated foot. I'll use it later, you're gonna see. I highly encourage you to buy one. I remove the basting threads and there we go. Moving on to the side pockets. So I'm going to use the footage of the sweatshirt version in this bordeaux color because I messed up a bit in the blue color for the jacket version. So for the jacket, the front comes in 2 mirrored pieces since we have a zipper in between. And for the sweatshirt, it's just one long piece. But in any case, it's the same measurements, same pockets, same process. I lay the woven pocket bag on the fleece, right side stitching. I sew around the rectangle. I cut inside. Turn the fabric inside out. Press down. You place the zipper under the rectangle opening, pin in place, and sew by top stitching all around the rectangle edges. This is what I get. And now we'll make French seams for the pockets. So I lay the other pocket bag on top. Wrong side is now visible. And observe well, I turn the fabric to the other side to pin. I sew respecting 1 centimeter of seam allowance. Here I actually didn't, but I corrected afterwards. It's important to respect 1 centimeter of seam allowance now because otherwise the lower hem will overlap the pocket bag. I trim my seam allowance like by half. I turn inside out. I press down and I sew again, and here I top stitched very close to the pocket edge, but you actually want to respect the seam allowance that is bigger than what's left from the trimming, so about 7 millimeters is good. And this is the result in bordeaux. And let's go back to the jacket now in blue. I lay the front parts right side stitching and I sew. Then I finish the edges.
Here.
I top stitch. Sorry for the blur. Now I'll show you with footage from the sweatshirt how I transfer the dart placement. Then you just sew. You open the darts and you press down. I lay the sleeves right side stitching against the front. I sew. Finish the edges. press down. Top stitch. And I add the back, same steps. So this is what we have at this point. Okay, the following part is something that you don't want to do. I'm showing you my mistakes here, so don't do what I did. I thought it'd be a good idea to add the eyelets right now. I am going to stick interfacing. No, it's going to come here. And I'm going to put eyelets here. Second one, third, and fourth one. So I stuck my interfacing. I'm going to put it here. I checked the eyelet placement on the pattern, and I marked my eyelets to be like 1.5 centimeters above the hem dart. Problem is, there was a small mistake in the pattern. The hem dart wasn't placed the same at the front versus at the back. So I put my eyelets, and later when I sewed my sides, they were not aligned. Frustrating. I corrected the pattern, of course, but as a result, I think it's better to be cautious and to not add the eyelets just yet. So instead of this, let's close the sides first. You sew and you finish the edges. Now the eyelets. See, I was very disappointed, but I like that I made the mistakes, at least so you don't have to. So go ahead, stick interfacing, poke your holes, and add your eyelets. Make sure the eyelets end up being in the middle of the bottom channel. Finish the bottom edge, fold on 3 centimeters. Okay, I've done the hem, so now I am going to sew the hem using once again my compensated foot here. I have some elasticated string here, I don't know, probably like 2 meters. I'm gonna insert it through my channel and through the cord stoppers. And you want to sew the elastic in the seam allowance in the center front. Let's sew the zipper guard. I lay the pieces right sides touching. I sew. I turn inside out. I press down and I top stitch. I'll finish the remaining raw edge as well. I grab my zipper. I'll sew it to the zipper guard. Since my zipper is a tad too long, I'll curve it away at the top. I cut the fabric in the curve. I sew in the seam allowance. pin and I sew the outer layer of the collar. My part sticks out by 1 centimeter, which is a mistake that I corrected in the pattern, so I'm gonna cut it off. You add the zipper guard. At the top of the collar, you should have 1 centimeter extra like this. Use the notches to pin the zipper guard correctly. It might feel like the zipper guard is too short, and it's just because fleece fabric is a bit stretchy, so you have to be careful not to stretch the fleece at all when you pin it to the guard. And then you sew and you observe 1 centimeter of seam allowance this time.
So here, obviously, I didn't finish the edge. You could do it. And here, this is wrong. So we wanted the seam allowance to be upward. So what am I gonna do?
Now, before sewing the zipper to the opposite side, I didn't show, but I finished the edge. The difficulty with adding the other half of the zipper is making sure the two sides are symmetrical. So I'm going to focus on the top part first. I curve the zipper and I pin until I like it. I'm only going to sew this part first with a long stitch length so it's easy to remove if I mess up. I check. I correct. And when I'm happy, I sew the rest of the zipper. This is the result. I check that the two sides are in line, and as you can see, it's not exactly, so I adjusted things before moving on. It took me some time, I think close to an hour, to sew this zipper until I liked it. Let's finish up the collar. I draw a line 2 centimeters from the edge, the one without the notches. I baste in place. I pin, I make sure the two sides are lined up correctly. I sew the collar parts together. I turn inside out, check that there is no mistake, trim the corners. Close the collar by hand. Pull the basting stitches away. Now let's top stitch. First this seam here all around, then around the top edge of the collar down to the zipper. And as you can see, I switched thread to match the colors of the fabric. Now you can either finish your cuffs with fold over elastic tape, in which case you can trim the hem allowance or not if you like really long sleeves. For my part, I'll encase my elastic tape, I finish the edges of my cuffs, I fold my hem, I pin, I'll sew to create a channel, and I'll make sure to leave an opening. I take my elastic tape, I pick the length by just testing it around my wrist. Don't forget the seam allowance. Safety pin, insert it, sew the elastic, close the opening. And that was the last step of this project. I hope you liked it. If you make it and share it on social, use the hashtag Polar Puff Fleece. Use the hashtag Polar Puff Fleece. Damn. Use, and don't hesitate to ask me anything in the comment section. I'll see you soon with another sewing project, and until then, take care. Bye. Kiss.